Hi everyone and welcome to Kerbal Space Program. This is a game about space, explosions, little green men and some more explosions. So I'm going to be doing a let's play of the career mode this game. As you can see, created a separate world for YouTube. So first couple of missions we are going to be getting science. We need science. So this game at the moment in career mode operates on the basis that each mission generates science, and there are various ways to increase the amount of science through experiments that you take on board with you and various other ways, such as landing on celestial bodies, visiting other moons. So first of all, what we're going to be doing is creating a rocket just to try and achieve orbit, just to rack up as many science points as we can so that we can unlock some new parts. The more science points you have, the more parts that you can unlock. It's a progressive tree of part unlocking, and we're just going to see how much points we can generate by, well, achieving orbit, and I think we'll try to have a flyby of the moon as well. So as you can see, I have built a rocket here and we're just going to launch it and see how far we get with it. So the solid rocket boosters should fire first. We are going to try and save as much of the liquid fuel as possible for later on when the rocket boosters run out. So here we go. Sorry about the sound, I will turn it down in a minute. I'm filming this post-commentary to see how it works. Let me know in the description whether or not you prefer, or in the comments, whether or not you prefer live or post for this particular game. But I think it makes it a bit more interesting doing a post-commentary, because then I can talk more and don't have to focus on the actual gameplay. So as you can see, we're looking through Jebediah's view here. Very interesting array of options and dials here, and hopefully a pipe that's not too important. Knowing Kerbal, that probably brings the fuel through the ship or something. So now the boosters have ran out and we're completing our gravity turn. With this ship going this speed, our turn should be roughly around 10 kilometers. And I've started to throttle up now to get a bit more speed. We don't want too much speed at this point because it will be wasted in atmospheric drag. So Jebediah, of course, looking very happy with himself. I'm just checking our apoapsis and getting the dial up there. That dial, I feel, in my opinion, should be automatically displayed without having to click that pop-up button to make it appear. But anyway, so we're continuing our climb into orbit, picking up speed as we go. On this orbit it looks like we're not going to have enough fuel, or on this particular run it looks like we're not going to have enough fuel to achieve orbit. But we should get into space nonetheless, and hopefully that'll get us some science because of that. As you can see, our apoapsis is in the correct range. With the boundary of space being, of course, in this game 70 kilometers. Most people try to aim for 75, that's considered low Kerbal orbit. Kerbal being the game equivalent of Earth. So we're aiming for 80 just to be safe. And now we're physics warping up to that altitude. Physics warping will affect the ship. If your ship is badly constructed or contains many parts, it may bug out and explode using physics warp. When you're in space, you use regular time warp, and your ship is less affected by that. So now we're at our highest point, which is thankfully in space. We're going to do a crew report. There seems... So we get some science from keeping that. Seems we are very much in space right now. The sky seems to be mostly below us. And that'll get us a bit of science, thankfully. Now if we EVA Jebediah, we can get an EVA report as well. You've recorded your observations about the situation. And that gets us a wee bit of science as well, thankfully. So we'll keep that, and we'll get Jeb back inside. Now there's not much left to do, I suppose, other than fall hurtling back to the planet. Looks like we are going to touch down in the ocean, which will destroy most of the ship, even with the parachute. The music stopped. The music's a clue that we're in space. It only plays when you're in space. So we're falling back with a bit of physics warp to speed it up, and we'll deploy our parachute soon. And there's the parachute away. The parachute has been deployed, but it will only appear once we reach a certain altitude. We've also got drag to consider while landing, if you're picking a landing spot, and here we go, some atmospheric heat effects due to the speed of hitting the atmosphere. As of yet in Kerbal, it doesn't actually do any damage, but the devs do mean to implement damage. They just haven't got around to it yet. There is mods that you can download, such as Dangerous Re-Entry, that will apply damage to your ship, and because of that, there's various parts in that mod that you can use, such as heat shields, which absorb some of that heat. And the coating obviously has a limited life. The more effect that is applied, the less it survives. So you have to really plan your entry, because if your angle is too sharp, well then the plating will all get used all up, and you're in a bit of trouble. Your ship will explode. You have to do a nice slow entry. Okay, as you can see, we're just about to land. The parachute flares out at 500 meters. If you physics warp past that, it will rip off the parachute and you will crash then. But now we're doing a nice slow descent into the sea. Jebediah is sort of bored, he's just waiting for this to be over. He wants to get on with the next mission already. So we should get a few science points for this at least. And recovering the vessel, of course. We splash down in the ocean. We can do our EVA of Jeb, and I think you can take a surface sample. Yeah, here we go. We've taken a sample of the water. It appears to dramatically increase the surface humidity of anything it touches. Well, it would. So we just store that in there and hop back in. Now we can do an EVA report too. I don't think a spacesuit was entirely necessary to get here, was it? Well, considering our brief orbital flight, I would think Jeb appreciated that spacesuit. So we'll store that as well, and we'll hop on in. And then we can recover and get our points. Okay, we got 36.2 cents for this particular mission. So we can now spend that in the science labs to unlock more parts. So here we are in the science. Don't know, science building, technology building, can't remember what it's called, but we can start off our part unlocking now by getting some additional fuel on the science experiment. That'll let us get more science, and the fuel, of course, is handy with a decoupler there for state. We still have to unlock a lot, but I think the next thing we'll unlock maybe is the rocketry one at the top. This one might be useful as well, due to the landing struts and parachutes. But I would much prefer, or maybe we'll get the decoupler. Yeah, we'll do that. With the rocketry one next. The decoupler will allow for even more staging. It should allow us to reach orbit now. We can shed some weight while or due to spent stages, and that'll allow us to be lighter and achieve a better orbit. So now we can use these decouplers. We can decouple the ship from the main part, just in case of any landings on land. You don't want to be attached to a big rocket full of fuel, or even an empty rocket is still a rocket. We'll use this bigger fuel tank now. It holds a bit more fuel than the last one, so we don't need to use so many of them. That'll cut down on the weight and would stage it a bit better. Just checking out what was unlocked, and now we'll continue with the lift-off stage. 3 of these should be sufficient with a rocket at the end. And now we can use our radial decouplers to decouple onto the side and allow these side engines to burn out first before using the middle stack. There we go. Just 2 of them with a rocket should be sufficient. Sometimes it doesn't connect too well. And attaching them rockets. We'll add some solid rocket boosters just to help us get off the launch pad, and that should be that. Just check the staging is okay, and we're good to go now, I think. Oh yeah, we need to add the new science module that we unlocked. Usually you can put 2 on, one for when you achieve orbit, and one for the return trip. Some nice elevator type music. And we're ready to lift off. Now, you probably noticed I forgot to put decouplers on the solid rocket boosters, so we lead to a bit of an accident later on when they burn out. And our simulation of the flight will have to end. Jebediah, of course, in this simulation is very happy. He's usually very happy when there's a rocket and he's attached to it. And there's our accident, where when the solid rocket boosters finished, I've accidentally disengaged the still burning side rockets, and they blew off my main engine. So we end that simulation and add some of these radial decouplers. After fixing that, okay. And we go ahead with the real flight. Yes, I decided to put the solid rocket boosters onto the main stack. That will allow for increased stability. As you've seen when the simulation loaded, it pushed the side rockets out at a strange angle. We want to avoid that as much as possible. It could lead to explosions or parts breaking. So we just check the staging and away we go. We're moving only up on solid rocket boosters now, and it's accelerating us at a good speed. Blah. Really going with it today. We're accelerating at a good speed, and we'll engage the liquid engines at the side when these run out. Now our staging allows for, we've been correctly staged, so we have to modified on the fly here just to trap the SRBs and not the liquid fuel again. So here we go with the main mission of our penis-shaped craft. As soon as these burn down, we will activate the main stack and drop these because we don't want the dead weight hounds back. Of course, Jeb is amazed with everything. You think he'd be used to this by now, but oh no. So for under 10,000 or 10 kilometers, you would not want to be going over 200 meters per second. The atmospheric drag sort of doesn't make it any benefit of you going any faster. It will actually slow you down. Generally, you want to start your gravity turn between 7 and 14 kilometers. And now the main stack is going, so we're just accelerating up to orbital speeds. Generally, you want to be at all times at least 30 seconds ahead of your upper axis. That way you can just slowly start to move the ship towards the horizon mark, and that will let you achieve a nice circularized orbit. So we're slowly burning our way into orbit, which is of course 70 kilometers, but I think we'll go for 75, or maybe we'll try 80. And it's becoming nice and circularized. And we've burnt out of that stage, so on to the last one. This rocket is very inefficient with this stage considering we're in space, so we have to throttle it down. As you can see, our axis is now increasing rapidly to around 80. And now we just have to wait till we get near the apoapsis point. Hopefully we'll be able to unlock the smaller, more space-efficient engine pretty soon. I don't think we'll be able to do it with this flight though. And the way we were. Oh my god. Right, so away we go with the physical time warp. Just so we can get into over the boundary and into space. And at 70 kilometers we have reached that. You do need to exit out of physics warp to enable time warp. And here's the space music. Now we're approaching the apoapsis. We can use a maneuver node to give us an idea of when we should burn and how long. But you want to burn equally over both sides of the node. This burn should only take us a couple of seconds. And there is no estimated burn time coming up as of yet, but sometimes it doesn't come up. Usually burning per second fixes that, but it hasn't in this case. And I burn way too much due to our highly inefficient engine, so we'll have to, well, we can live with that. That has put us out into high Kerbal orbit as well as low, so we can get some good science from this. So if we observe the mystery goo while near Kerbal, the goo seems to have clumped into a sphere, and it also appears to have become brittle. I would say that was due to the extreme cold temperatures while in a vacuum. Though I wonder, is it an organism or is it just merely a lump of goo? If it is an organism, it would be more interesting to do a crew report as well. It seems it's very much in space right now. We don't get much science for that though, so there isn't much point because we've already done it. And we get a small bit of science for this, so we might as well gather all small bits we can get and store that experiment. Okay, now we want to time warp around to the apoapsis, where we can get some more science due to our large distance away from Kerbal. I still haven't figured out that I'm physical warp, but here we go. So if we time warp around, now we can observe the other mystery goo that we brought with us. The goo feels right at home here, from in space high above Kerbal. I would have thought it would have been brittle as well, but whatever. We're doing another crew report from space, because we weren't in space before. Okay. And we'll get another EVA report going. We've recorded your observations. Yes, Jeb loves making his observations. And if we just slowly back away from the ship, we're going to have to go and pick up each of the experimental data pods out of the experiments. It should be noted that I am actually horrible at the EVA controls. Very, very impatient, and then I tend to go too fast and crash into whatever it was I was trying to get. So we get both of them data canisters and get back into the craft. It could take a while. No, Jeb, don't come away. We get a lovely view of Kerbal in the bottom corner. Judging by how much is seen here, we can assume we are quite a distance away. But we are getting closer each time now. We have passed the apoapsis point, so finally getting close to the door. Hopefully I can get in. Yep. And board. And we will attempt to land now. Just trying to find where exactly the space center is in the world. Okay, here we go. There's the mountains, and right where the mouse was there is the space center. So we try to burn here and see where that will bring us. It is a lot of trial and error. And also has to do a lot with how much atmospheric drag you get going through the atmosphere, which of course is dependent on the size of your craft. So it is a lot of trial and error to land even close to the space center. So with this small little ship, we'll just burn retrograde here and see how much the fuel will decrease our orbit by. Burning slowly, of course, to make the most out of the inefficient engine. This engine has a very, very low ISP in space, which is of course why it is so inefficient. It is generally an atmospheric rocket, which of course has a completely different propulsion system for exhaustion and burning the fuel compared to space engines. Of course, this early in the stage, the Kerbals will not have any advanced rockets which could modify that particular bell nozzle. We've just ejected our useless fuel stage now. It will also fall back to Kerbal roughly around the same time. And we'll fall just short of the space center and splash down in the ocean. There's the space center down on that plateau. Because we are so small, we shouldn't have too much of an atmospheric drag. And we'll just begin our slow descent down with our chutes deployed. Now, because we are splashing down in the ocean, the two goo canisters may come off. I put them up on the command module just so that it increases their chances of staying on. We get some atmospheric effects there, slowing us down even more. And the chutes will deploy in a few seconds. But yes, generally if I had left a fuel tank underneath that and attached the goo canisters to that, all of them would have been destroyed on impact with the water, and if I hadn't stored the experiments, we would have lost all of that data. And that's the sound of the fuel stage hitting the water, and our parachute deploys, slowing us down rapidly. It seems that the Kerbals on this planet are able to withstand a lot more G-force than a normal human would. Though Jebediah has yet to ever complain about anything. Maybe he feels no pain. Okay, we've now landed and can recover this vessel and see how much science we get from that. Okay, we have 64 science now. So we can use that to buy some more parts. Okay, we get the struts. Or not the struts, sorry. The landing legs with the smaller, more efficient space rocket. We could go for more control or battery power. And another science thing, or some more rockets. I think it would be better at this point to go for the battery. That way we can go further out without having to worry about our electric running out. Getting started, and I'll see you next time.